Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Let us continue with the chapter Cell, Structure and its Functions. In the earlier session, I said that cell is defined as the basic structural and functional unit of life, right? And I clearly explained that what are the reasons behind this thing. Further, we discussed that what different types of variation occurs among different types of cells present in different types of organisms, or even the cells which are present within the same organism's body, right? So these variations, they were with respect to what all things? Do you remember? So I will just show you one flowchart that we have already discussed, and then we will proceed with the further variations and further points related to this chapter. So living organisms, they shows variety in terms of their cell number, shape and size, right? And on the basis of cell number, what I said earlier, that these organisms, they can be unicellular, that means they are made up of only single cell, right? And they can be multicellular, that means they are made up of many cells. And many number means what? It can be millions or billions or trillions of numbers, right? Further, the the shape of the cell that we have discussed earlier, that organisms vary, the shape of the cell vary according to its function, right? As we discussed, that the shape could be either round, cylindrical, cuboidal, spindle, branched, irregular, and so on. So this is the variety that can be observed in terms of the shape of the cell. Now in today's session we are going to discuss about the size of the cell. Now this size, it is again not it is not confined, or it is not actually fixed, but we can say that the size of the cell depends on its function. The size can vary from zero point 0.1 micrometer to few centimeters. Now this is the range that we can quote here, 0.1 micrometer to few centimeters, isn't it? So what does it suggest? It simply suggests that the size is of course having a lot of variation in different types of cells. Fine. The smallest cell, as we said, it is 0.1 micrometer, and the largest is a few centimeters. And you know what we mean by this micrometer actually? Students, this micrometer or micron, it is actually the millionth part of the meter. This is what the relation between the meter and the micrometer, right? So I can say it is something around 10 to the power minus 6, or we can say 10 to the power 6 microns makes 1 meter. And centimeters, you know the relation between the meter and the centimeters. Now the thing is that as we are discussing that this is the variation in the size of the cells. So earlier we said the shape also varies. Now we are saying the size also varies. So just think about it. As the size as well as the shape is changing, definitely the structure will also vary in different types of cells, isn't it? Let us say, for example, in the human bodies, right? In the human being, which is the smallest cell? Do you have any idea? The smallest cell in the human body is the sperm. You know what is sperm? This sperm is the male gamete, right? You know what happens in sexual reproduction? In them, the male gamete and the female gamete, it will fuse together so as to form the zygote, and then zygote will develop into the embryo, the fetus, and then the new baby is going to be born, right? Now the thing is, the sperm that we are quoting here as an example, it is the smallest cell. You know what is the shape of this particular cell? I hope you must be having some idea about this thing. So let me show you this thing. This is the smallest cell, and it is having somewhat oval structure like this, and it is having a motile tail. Excuse me. And this tail, it helps this cell to move from one part to the another. This male gamete, it has to fuse with the ovum, right? So from male body it has to be transferred, right? So this transfer is possible because of the motility. You know, in the human beings, the male organism, they are having the testes, right? It is a particular reproductive part of the male body, and this testis is actually secreting the sperms, right? And where this testis is present, it is located in the scrotum, a sac-like structure which is present below the penis, right? So from here, the gamete, the sperm or the gamete which has been produced, it has to be transferred out of the body, and then it has to move out into the female's body. So how this traveling is possible? It is possible because of the tail, right? So although it is having a it is having the smallest size here, but the structure is again different. Now why this type of tail is there? So as to provide motility. So now you can understand that this whatever size or the shape of the cell is there, it is because of the it is all because of the function, right? Besides that, let us say, you know, which is the largest or the longest cell in our body? It is the nerve cell. Now this nerve cell, you have idea already, we have discussed also. It is having this thread-like extensions. The membrane is having this, I'm sorry, it is having this thread-like extensions over its surface, and they are, it is these extensions, they are known as what? Dendrites. The central body is known as what? It is the cytone. And then there is the elongated thread-like structure which is known as the axon, right? And then it is having some fine endings further. So you just imagine this is a I'm sorry, it is the largest cell in our body. Now why this large size is there? Why there is need? As on one side we are saying this the smallest cell is there, that is known as the sperm cell, and on the other hand the largest cell is this one, that is nerve cell. You know why the cell is so long? The reason is because it participates in the transmission of messages, right, in the form of electrical impulse in our body. Now these nerve cells, they are actually communicating or coordinating the different functions of our body. So definitely they have to transfer the message at the longer sides, isn't it? Like for example, if it is your feet, and then a message is to be conveyed to till which part? The master body of your or the master organ of your body, that is the brain. So this much long distance it has to travel. Now I'm not saying that it is a single cell which is carrying out this particular function. Rather, there are the group of cells which are functioning for the same. But definitely, as they have to transfer the message at the long distance, thus the size is quite larger, right? Now on the other hand, one thing I can quote here is that the largest nerve cell is present in the limbs of horse, right? This is again a very important point to be understood here. uh, Largest cell in the human body is the nerve cell. But if we compare the nerve cells of different organisms, then the fact is that the nerve cell of the horse, which one? The one which is present in the limbs, that is the largest one. Fine. Now this is about individual human body, but further it is there is not only the existence of human organisms in our surroundings, in the environment. There are many different types of organisms. So if we just broaden our view to understand this particular fact, then there is the another cell which is the smallest one. Let us see which is that. So the smallest cell in the living world is the mycoplasma. You know what is this mycoplasma? This mycoplasma, actually it is a type of bacteria. It belongs to bacteria group, and is a very simple organism in which the true nucleus is of course not present. And the wall of this particular organism, it is highly flexible. It is very flexible. You know, this flexibility actually, due to this flexibility of the membrane, it is not filtered out by the normal filters. There has to be some special filters to filter it out, to separate it out, right? So they, why is it possible? Because these organisms, they can pass through the pores of the filters. Why? Because of the flexibility of their membrane. Fine. And besides this, they are responsible for causing these lung diseases. right? And if I'm saying the cell is the smallest one, then the size is actually from it is around zero 0.1 to zero 0.5 micrometer. This is the size of this particular organism, and of course it is a unicellular organism, mind it. There are many different types of unicellular organisms, and the size varies in them, but the smallest one is the mycoplasma. Fine. Now let us see which is the largest cell. Well, this largest cell is having the size of around 170 millimeter by 130 millimeter, and this much big size. Now you can imagine what type of it's how much size, or how is it going to appear. It is having some oval shape structure, and oval shape, and this is actually present in the egg of an ostrich. This egg is a single cell, as we have already discussed earlier also. The egg of the hen, right? That is actually a single cell, but it is having quite a large size. But among this category also, if we try to understand, then the largest egg or largest cell in this world is the egg of the bird, that is ostrich, right? And size is 170 by 130 millimeter. Right? Now, if this much big is the size of this cell, definitely you are able to see it by the naked eyes also. Fine. Now, after knowing all these basic things, one important point is very, very clear, that the size of the cell has no relation with the size of the body of the organism, whether it is animal or it is a plant. But this size of the cell is actually related to the function that is played by it in the particular organism. Now, like for example, the thing is very clear. It is not, see, the plants, they are having quite a large size as compared to the human beings or any other organism, isn't it? So it is not so that animals are having small sized cells, whereas the plants are having very big size cell. It's not like that. The size of the cell is of course very small according to its function. Even among the organisms, in the animals, we can say that elephant is having large size cells because the size is too big, right? And the, let us say, ant is having the small size of the cell. Is it so? No, it is never so. Each cell is having a particular size, and that is always in the range of zero 0.1 micrometer to few centimeters. We cannot change that thing. Next thing, if it is related to its function, then the point should be very clear. What I gave you one example, sperms and the nerve cell. And I clearly explained that what is the significance of that particular size in that cell in different organisms. Fine. So this is how you can simply observe the variations among different types of organisms, as well as variations in different types of cells also. Although cells are made up of basic or structure is all same, but definitely the size and some structural features, the functional features, they are going to vary. But the basic function or the basic structure is always same. What basic structure? It is like it is having the cell membrane, it is having the nucleus, and it is having the cytoplasm. So these basic points are always common among different types of cells. Whatever is the variation over there, despite of all those variations, these basic features are always same, right? Now, as we are saying that such type of variations occurs, and these multicellular organisms, they are made up of many cells, right? So now let us see that how these cells in this unicellular organism or in the multicellular organism, how are they working, right? How they are actually playing their role, or they are performing their functions. Let us see that thing. Well, I already explained that cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life, right? Now, if it is a unicellular organism, in that case, each organelle is functioning over there. Each different part of the cell is functioning so as to carry out different functions so as to sustain life in that organism, right? But when the question is about the multicellular organism, then it is not like that each and every cell has to perform each and every type of function so as to sustain life, so as to maintain the life of that organism. In that case, what happens? In that case, these groups, there are the group of cells which are actually getting specialized. They are differentiating into different forms, right? And these differentiated group of cells, they are further functioning in coordination with each other so as to carry out the function. Now, what do you understand by this thing? In this case, I can simply say one line here, that each organism, each multicellular organism shows a body organization which has different levels. That means what? The cells, they are organized together in different forms or in different levels, and that each level, each type of group is performing a different type of function, right? That is more clear with the help of this diagram. See, each and every cell is made up of what? It is made up of some atoms or the molecules, right? Inorganic substances, they form the organic substances, and these organic substances, they are forming the organelle. Got my point? And these organelles, they together form the cell, right? Now this is what the cell is actually made up of. Each cell is made up of some chemical molecules, and these chemical molecules are forming the special structures inside that are known as the organelle, right? So these organelles, they are functioning so as to maintain the integrity of these particular cells. Now further, in multicellular organisms, the cells, the group of similar type of cells, they will form the tissue. They will work together so as to carry out a particular function. Now these tissues, they will further form the advanced or the more complex structure that is known as the organ. Then organ, many different types of organs together, they will form the organ system. Now of course they may be of different type. They are constituted of different types of organ or the tissues or something this way, but of course they are working together so as to carry out the same function, right? Then together different types of organ system, they will work together, and then they will together constitute a living organism. So this is how the body organization occurs. There are different levels of complexity, there are different levels of body organization so as to maintain the life of an organism. So with this body organization or these levels which are present here, one thing should be very clear to you, that each particular part, right, whether it is a particular type of cell or the tissue, organ or the organ system, each type is actually it is specialized for a particular function. See, they all are functioning together in coordination. For example, in human beings, let us say there is the respiratory system. I know you are aware of it. Respiratory system, which helps in breathing in and breathing out of the air, breathing out the air, I'm sorry, and further it helps in the transport of oxygen to the target cell and extract energy, right? Then on the other hand, let us say there is the another system, that is the circulatory system. Now circulatory system, what is the main function of this particular system? It helps in the transportation of different material with the help or through which medium? Through the blood, right? And of course it has to be transported in each and every part of our body, so it is circulated with the help of pumping organ in our body. And what is this pumping organ here? It is the heart. Now here I have given you two examples, two systems. One is the respiratory system and another one is the circulatory system. So can you make some link between these two systems? Respiratory system, it will help in the intake of the air, right? Intake, once the air has been transported or it has been inhaled and is transported to the lungs. Now what has to be done? Oxygen has to be transported to different parts. From this, oxygen will be taken up into the blood and then it has to be transported. And how this blood is circulated in the body? It is through the circulatory system. So can you see that how these two functions or two different systems are working together so as to carry out different functions? Although they have the independent function, but these independent functions, they are interlinked. If your circulatory system is not functioning properly, definitely the transportation will not occur. If the respiration is not working properly, then what will happen? The further this oxygen will not be transported, although circulation is taking place. But since no oxygen, so definitely we may suffer with different things. Got my point? This is what we are saying, that there are the different levels of body organization, but each part is functioning together so as to in a coordinated manner so as to carry out different functions. Fine. Now this is the thing which we have discussed in relation with the organ system. But when we go down towards the lower level also, then in each case you will find the similarity. The same thing what we have discussed here, the same thing you will observe up to the level of the cell, right? So we can say like system is made up of different types of organ, and organ is made up of tissue, and so on. So through this you can understand one thing, that there is the distribution of work among these different parts of the body, and this type of distribution of work so as to carry out particular function is actually known as division of labor. And this division of labor is a very important function in our body. Now this division of labor you can observe in the case of higher organisms, but if you compare the same thing with the unicellular organism, a similar type of distribution of work will be observed. Even there is the division of labor. You know how? A cell is made up of different organelles. You are aware of it, right? So each organelle, for example, you know some of the names. Definitely we will discuss later in detail each and every organelle, but do you have any rough idea about it? Like there is a nucleus, there is the mitochondria, right? Then there is the endoplasmic reticulum, a plasma membrane, and so on. Fine. So all these parts are having the specific function, and if the function of any of the organelle is disturbed, the entire cell is going to suffer. So you can see that all organelles or all of the parts, they are having the specific functions, and they have to function together in the coordinated manner. And such type of distribution of work among different organelles is actually known as division of labor in unicellular organisms. So division of labor is present in both type of organisms, whether it is unicellular or multicellular. Fine. Now let me give you another example. See, this picture is of human digestive system. So you must have studied about this human digestive system, right? So in this digestive system, what are the different parts? There is a mouth. Inside that mouth there is the buccal cavity. Then there is the esophagus, liver, stomach, large intestine, small intestine, rectum, and anus. Right? These are the different parts of the human digestive system. Now this is an example of organ system. Now the thing is, organ system, what is this organ system? It is made up of different organs, right? As here these buccal cavity, mouth or the buccal cavity, esophagus, stomach, all these are the different organs which are functioning together, which are interlinked, which are working in a coordinated manner so as to carry out a particular function. Which function? The function is the digestion of food material. But if this digestion of food material has to occur, what is this digestion? It means the conversion of complex compounds into the simpler ones by the action of the enzymes inside our body. Right? This is how we define this word digestion. But if this digestion has to occur, what do you think? It is only this particular step that is converting this food material into the simpler one? No, it is not that. Initially, if the food is to be digested, then initially it has to be inserted or it has to be ingested, right? It has to be transferred into the buccal cavity, right? And of course, if we are swallowing it down in that intact form, then definitely it is going to create some problem. So initially, this mouth which is enclosing the buccal cavity. Over there, the teeth and the tongue and the saliva, they all are present, which will help in softening this food material. We can chew with our teeth, right? And then this chewed food material is mixed with saliva, and such a function is actually taking place in the mouth. And this is therefore one of the first particular part of the intestine. The digestive system. Then later it has to be transported to the stomach. Now how? Are we going to pour it down directly into the stomach? No, it is transported in the proper manner, isn't it? And how it is taking place? It is by the esophagus tube. So this esophagus tube is helping in transporting the food material to the stomach. In the stomach, in the intestine, there are further other functions that are taking place, like the digestion. That means they are having the enzymes which can convert the food material into the simpler one. Now once the food is digested, then what will happen? The simple forms, they have to be absorbed into the blood. So how this absorption is taking place? It is further taking place in the intestine. Now the remaining food which is undigested, right, that has to be eliminated from our body. So you can see that if we are discussing about digestive system or the digestion, it is not merely the conversion of food material, rather it is related with the in taking inside the food material, then its transport to the target site, then its digestion with the enzyme by the enzyme, then further the absorption of the digested food material, and so on. So thus we can say that in this diagram, each part is specialized, each organ is specialized for a particular function. And of course all these parts or all these organs, they are functioning together in the coordinated manner, and then only this particular system is going to be functional, right? So here this sentence is written: organs like stomach, large intestine, they are performing different functions. Like what? Ingestion. Mouth is helping in the ingestion, stomach is helping in the digestion of food material, then large intestine, it is helping in the absorption. You know absorption of what? Absorption of excessive water which is present in the food material. That is the reabsorption of excessive water from the undigested food material. Whereas the absorption of food, digested food material, it occurs in the small intestine. So now you can understand that how this distribution of work is there. Now even when we will go and study about a single organ, then you will see that even that single organ is made up of different types of tissues, and each tissue is helping in maintaining the structure of that particular part as well as maintaining the function of that particular part, right? So here you can understand that all these things are possible because of the presence of different types of cells among these different regions, right? uh, so now if we have to if I'm saying that each function is basically possible because of the type of cell present over there, so now it is the time to understand that what are the different parts of the cells and how they are functioning in our body. So further, briefly I am going to explain this particular thing to you, and that we'll continue in the next session. Okay? So till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day. We'll meet you soon in the next session. Goodbye.